Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Eisenhower and Patton watch a demonstration given by concentration camp survivors who explain the abuses they suffered in 1945. The scene is tied to the end of World War II and the liberation of German camps, a historical moment that exposed the scale of the crimes and strengthened the memory of the Holocaust. Istvan Reiner, at 4 years old, smiles in a studio portrait that gained historical weight for recording Jewish childhood before he was taken to Auschwitz. That fate marked the peak of persecution carried out by the German government, a symbol of violence that devastated millions of families and left one of the deepest wounds of the 20th century. In France, during World War II, soldiers from the German army appear in a snowball fight beside railroad cars, in sharp contrast with the setting of war. The photo shows an informal moment among soldiers in the middle of wartime routine. The record helps document rare breaks in troop life. Children build a kite with nearly worthless paper money, a gesture that sums up German hyperinflation in 1923, when currency lost its everyday function. The episode marked the peak of the Weimar Republic crisis and showed how extreme devaluation destroyed wages, savings, and trust in the state. Sophia Loren, in an autographed signed photograph, reinforces the star aura that marked post-war European cinema. An icon of beauty and talent, she strengthened her international fame with a Countess from Hong Kong in 1967, a milestone that expanded her global reach and symbolized the strength of Italian cinema. To protect the Boeing factory, a fake neighborhood was built on rooftops in 1944 to mislead possible Japanese bombings. Industrial camouflage became a crucial wartime measure, preserving aircraft production and revealing how American civil defense also depended on illusion and engineering. Robert Downey Jr. appeared after being sentenced to 3 years of detention for involvement with illegal substances and weapons in 1999, a harsh moment in his public life. The episode symbolized the peak of a troubled period and came before the recovery that later brought him back to Hollywood. The ceremonial return of HMS Invincible on September 17, 1982, marked British celebration after the Falklands War, with Sea King and Sea Harrier FRS-1 aircraft lined up on deck. The episode symbolized naval and air victory, reinforcing the United Kingdom's military projection in the South Atlantic. The nanny watches over the baby in a wire crib suspended outside the window, an urban practice that gained attention in the 1930s in crowded cities. The solution aimed to provide ventilation and more space in small apartments, but it also revealed challenges in child safety. The dust storm in Oklahoma, recorded by GLR on April 6, 1937, points to the height of the Dust Bowl, which hit farms and towns in the central United States. This milestone of environmental and economic crisis forced migration and deepened hardship in rural areas. The female worker applying luminous paint in 1932 reflects a time when industry sought to improve the visibility of dials and parts in factories and workshops. This advance, tied to mass production, marked the modernization of labor and helped spread techniques that would later require stronger safety controls. Raquel Welch became one of the most striking faces of 1960s film and pop culture, helped by Seven Faces of Dr. Lao in 1964 and by productions with broad popular appeal. Her presence helped redefine female stardom in Hollywood and established a new image of global celebrity. The headline of the Milwaukee Journal reveals Japanese negotiations for surrender as long as Hirohito remained on the throne, a sign of the final collapse of World War II. This deadlock marked the path to the 1945 capitulation and showed how preserving the monarchy weighed on the transition of defeated Japan. The Real Rosies of Fort Worth, Texas, recorded in 1942, symbolized the decisive entry of women into war industry during World War II. Mobilization on the home front increased military production and marked a lasting social advance in women's work. Richard Lasher was on his way to ride his dirt bike when Mount St. Helens erupted in front of him in 1980. The event marked one of the largest volcanic disasters in the 20th century United States, changing the landscape and reinforcing the importance of geological monitoring. The 1962 record shows a test pilot ejecting in time before his aircraft crashes in a dive, an episode that sums up the risks of experimental aviation after the war. Cases like this helped improve ejection seats and emergency procedures, making test flights safer. Among books scattered through a damaged bookstore in London, The Boy Reading in 1940 reflects civilian resilience during the Blitz, when German air raids devastated the city. The scene recalls a defining moment of World War II, the ability to preserve culture and routine even in the middle of destruction. Toshio Sakai recorded 2 American soldiers resting under the monsoon in 1968 in South Vietnam, when the war dragged on in hostile wet terrain. The scene reflects the strain of the conflict, which after the Tet Offensive reached a decisive turning point and increased pressure on United States involvement. The action of British police against an Irish tenant, recorded in 1888, reveals the harshness of forced evictions in rural Ireland. The use of a battering ram symbolizes the pressure of the land system, which fueled social conflict and sped up the crisis that would lead to land reforms at the end of the 19th century. Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis appear on the set of Ghostbusters in 1984, when the supernatural comedy became a popular phenomenon and reinforced the power of major studios in entertainment franchises. The film would define a generation and secure the cast's place in commercial cinema. The record points to the world of Victorian sideshows, where George Shelley appears with Crowell Farini, an American performer with hypertrichosis whose act had been exploited since the 1890s. This circuit popularized displays of human curiosities and helped shape mass entertainment culture. Michelle and Edmund Navratil, the Titanic orphan brothers, are tied to the 1912 episode that marked maritime history. The only children rescued without a father or guardian, they became symbols of the event and of the changes that led to stricter rules for navigation and rescue. A sailor meets his baby for the first time after 14 months at sea, a scene that sums up the separation imposed by World War II and the effect of long absences on families. This kind of return shaped civilian life in the 1940s and symbolized relief after months of uncertainty. Young workers at Bibb Mill in Macon, Georgia, are linked to the industrial growth of the early 20th century, when miners still actively worked in textile factories in the southern United States. The record from January 19, 1909, helps remind us of the importance of reforms that later limited this practice and changed labor protection. Ishii appears connected to the Yana House, built by him as a record of indigenous resistance and forced adaptation to life in the United States at the end of the 19th century. The note on the door, measuring 33 inches high, shows the unusual scale of the home and points to memory preservation in contrast with pressure to assimilate. Young Stalin appears associated with the Bolshevik Revolution, with the caption around 1917 placing the portrait at the height of the struggles that led to the Bolsheviks taking power. This moment marked the rise of a new regime and opened the way for deep political changes in Russia. Fort Sill in Indian Territory appears in 1889 as a military post in the southwestern United States during a phase of expansion and control over indigenous lands. The presence of the fort symbolizes the consolidation of federal authority in the region and helps explain the advance of colonial occupation. Anna Fisher, astronaut on mission STS-51A, entered history in 1985 as the first mother to travel to space. Her achievement symbolized the growing role of women at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and marked an important step in women's participation in spaceflight. Vaudeville and circus performers popularized daring acts such as sword swallowing, drawing crowds in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. This practice became a symbol of show culture and of women's independence on stage as women gained more space in challenging acts and pushed against social expectations. The caption shows Nixon using chopsticks at a banquet with Premier Zhou Enlai on February 26, 1972, a gesture tied to diplomacy that opened the way for the historic visit to the United States in 1972. This meeting marked closer Chinese-American relations and eased Cold War tensions. Marie Skłodowska-Curie and Pierre Curie appear shortly after their marriage in France in 1895, when both were already standing out in physics. The couple would go on to make decisive discoveries about radioactivity, a field that changed modern science and opened the way to the Nobel Prize in 1903. The launch of Microsoft Windows 95 upgrade marked a decisive step in the popularization of personal computers by making system updates easier and expanding access to the graphical interface. In 1995, the software strengthened the shift toward more home-based and intuitive computing. The charging of an electric car in a garage, recorded in 1911, highlights a pioneering moment in urban mobility. This scene foreshadows the development of electric vehicles shortly before Henry Ford popularized mass automobile production, a change that transformed modern transportation. Niagara Falls Without Water in 1969 records a rare environmental and urban event when the flow was stopped by engineering work to strengthen the falls. The episode revealed the weight of human management over the landscape and remained in public memory tied to tourism and preservation. At Southam Park Zoo, the 1971 caption records a chimpanzee feeding a leopard cub, a gesture that echoes the growth of educational zoos in the 20th century. This kind of record strengthened debates about coexistence between species and animal care. Elizabeth II's visit to Ghana in 1961 marked a moment of diplomacy after independence, when the country was trying to assert its sovereignty after 1957. The British monarch's presence symbolized political closeness and helped strengthen ties with the Commonwealth. The text highlights Sister Mary Kenneth Keller, a pioneer who in 1965 became the first woman in the United States to earn a Doctor of Philosophy degree in computer science. This milestone reflected the gradual opening of a male-dominated field and helped broaden women's access to research and teaching in computing. Henry Ford appears associated with the first Ford of 1896 and the 10 millionth Ford Model T of 1924, a milestone in the growth of mass production in the United States. The celebration tied to the Lincoln Highway from New York to San Francisco sums up the spread of the automobile, which transformed transportation, industry, and consumer life in the 20th century. Hargrave's tetrahedral kites in 1894 marked a decisive step in the history of human flight by testing the lifting of people through light-stable structures. This advance helped open the way for modern aerodynamics and for early studies of more controllable aircraft. The airship USS Los Angeles, moored to the aircraft carrier Saratoga in 1928, symbolizes the phase when the United States Navy was testing new forms of aerial operation at sea. This integration marked an important advance in naval aviation and expanded military experiments with large aircraft. In 1921, a scene promoted as "Stuntman Drops into a Moving Car" shows a performer coming down from a biplane to land on a moving automobile in a record linked to silent film. The image sums up the value of stunts as popular entertainment and helps explain spectacle culture in the early 20th century. People watch a television set for the first time at Waterloo Station in London in 1936 in a pioneering moment for mass media. This demonstration marked a decisive technological step that helped transform how news and entertainment would reach the public in the 20th century. Walt Disney proudly presents the map of Disneyland, his first theme park, launched in 1955 and opened in Anaheim that same year. This milestone changed mass entertainment by turning fantasy into a planned commercial experience and opening the way for the global expansion of Disney parks. Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton, linked to 1967, appear in an intimate setting that reflects the energy of British and American rock. The meeting points to the peak of the electric guitar era, shortly before the cultural milestone of Woodstock in 1969, which helped define that generation and its lasting influence. The Twin Towers, seen from New Jersey, already dominated the New York skyline in 1973 as a symbol of the city's financial and urban rise. The complex, opened in 1973, marked a new phase of the World Trade Center, reinforcing Manhattan's role as a global economic center and architectural landmark of the 20th century. The 1957 record at the Sumgait aluminum plant in Azerbaijan captures Soviet industrial expansion in the southern Caucasus, when new plants strengthened aluminum production for the planned economy. This facility symbolized heavy modernization and increased the region's integration into the economic project of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Karen Leadley worked on the analog computers of the Space Division at General Dynamics in 1964, when the space race required more and more precise calculations. This kind of technology helped plan trajectories and flight systems, contributing to advances that marked United States space exploration. The installation of the outer fins on the Space Needle in Seattle in 1961 marked the construction of one of the icons of the 1962 World's Fair. The work with helmets and ropes revealed the bold engineering of the period and established the tower as a symbol of North American urban modernization. Edith, wife of John Ronald Royal Tolkien, appears associated with an overlaid text calling her the inspiration for Luthien in 1907, a decisive year in shaping the writer's imagination. This connection helps explain how personal experiences fed the creation of The Lord of the Rings and its mythic world. Salvador Dalí, with The Face of War, symbolizes European tension after the Spanish Civil War and anticipates the atmosphere of fear that marked World War II. The 1940 work strengthened his surrealist language and became a lasting record of the anxieties of the modern era. A couple enters through the front door of a BMW Isetta, a symbol of post-war urban optimism and the European car industry of the 1950s. Introduced in 1955, the microcar helped popularize compact vehicles, marking a shift in everyday transportation and mass consumer culture. R. Lee Ermey, at 17 years old, was given a choice by a judge between detention and military service, and he chose the Marine Corps. The caption points to the early 1960s, when enlistment could turn disciplinary measures into institutional training, a milestone that influenced his public path. Daytona Beach, 1957, captures the peak of car culture and speed racing on the Florida coast, when rounded cars and motorcycles competed for space on the beach. This scene comes before the rise of events that helped turn the place into a symbol of North American motorsports. Atlantic City Beach appears crowded, and the inscription identifies the photograph as 1908, when the resort had already established itself as a leisure destination on the United States coast. This high point of urban tourism shaped mass culture, strengthened the local economy, and announced the era of seaside relaxation for crowds. Muscle Beach in California became a symbol of fitness culture and outdoor leisure that gained strength in the 20th century. Group exercise, recorded in the 1970s, reflected the popularization of the moving body and of public entertainment, with a lasting impact on local tourism. Turtle racing in Miami in the United States gained attention in the 1920s when two women balanced on giant reptiles and turned urban leisure into a popular spectacle. This kind of attraction reflected the entertainment culture of the time and helps explain the growth of tourism and promotional imagery. The phrase Victorian exercise machine, with the note of 1892, reveals Victorian culture of mechanical cure and enthusiasm for wellness devices. These machines appeared at the height of industrialization, when medicine was trying to standardize exercise, a milestone tied to the modernization of the body and leisure. 4 generations gathered in a studio, recorded in the 1880s, reveal the power of Victorian portraiture and family memory. The inscription, 4 generations. In one picture, 1880s, highlights a milestone of home photography, when these compositions affirmed legacy and continuity among parents, children, and grandparents. Cheyenne in Laramie County, Wyoming, recorded in 1869, reveals a commercial center growing with western expansion. The presence of the Rollins House, jewelers, and merchants signals urban consolidation tied to the railroad, a decisive factor in turning frontier camps into an organized city. Pioche, Nevada, recorded in 1873, emerged as one of the most important silver mining centers in the American West. The simple, scattered buildings reflect the rapid growth of an arid frontier tied to the mining boom that drove settlement and brought wealth, work, and conflict to the region. The inscription West Virginia Coal Mine, around 1940, places the scene at the height of coal mining in the United States, when underground tunnels depended on small rail vehicles and manual labor. This period was marked by intense struggles over safety and wages, with strong impact on the regional economy. The business called the General Store in Weslaco, Texas, captures the consumer culture of 1964, when brands such as Dr. Pepper, Royal Crown Cola, Frosty, and Pepsi competed for space on modest storefronts. This scene marks the expansion of soft drinks in the United States and the strength of advertising in local retail. The blacksmith sign points to the tradition of blacksmiths, a trade central to industrialization and to the maintenance of machines, tools, and vehicles. This work gained new importance with 20th century mechanization, when metal production came to support construction, transportation, and heavy labor. The Hackney Tram Drivers' School in London appears linked to the address Cornwall Road 1187 and to the Born Vita brand in 1935, when the training of tram operators followed strict urban discipline. This kind of professional preparation accompanied the expansion of electric transit and modernized mobility in the city. The caption places the meeting in 1975, when Urho Kaleva Kekkonen received Kim Il-sung during the Finnish parliament's visit to North Korea. This contact symbolized Helsinki's diplomatic openness and strengthened Finland's Cold War neutrality strategy through dialogue between rival blocs. The text Curtiss Wright Condor and American Airways points to an aircraft cabin in 1933 when commercial aviation was trying to project safety and elegance. The presence of a female crew reflects the professionalization of air service, a milestone in the expansion of regular routes in the United States and in the modernization of passenger transportation. The Italian wedding in Sicily, identified in the caption as around the 1960s, records a ceremony in which a white dress, dark suit, and cars in the background reveal post-war urban customs. This family ritual preserved local ties and Catholic tradition, still central to Sicilian social life. In the Gorbals district of Glasgow in 1968, a group of older women appears gathered in a pub, playing sherry games and talking in the local working-class atmosphere. The scene records female social life in a British post-war labor district. The portrait also helps show urban habits and everyday customs. A Victorian couple knits together in their home in England, recorded in the 1890s, when photography was already documenting middle-class domestic life. This calm, everyday scene reveals the value placed on the home in the Victorian era, marked by the spread of photography and the strengthening of new family habits. Two women from Uppsala in Sweden appear in winter clothing, probably in 1857, when photography was already becoming a form of social record in Europe. The name Amanda Fredrika Hildegard Hilda Earhart appears as a central reference, and this kind of portrait preserves family ties and customs of the period. The phrase "lady from high society" places this woman in the elegant world of the Ottoman elite in the early 20th century, when studio photography reinforced prestige and social distinction. The Ottoman Empire was going through decisive changes, and this portrait records the visual culture of an upper class seeking modernity and status. Charles de Gaulle appears with his daughter Anne, who had Down syndrome, in Brittany in 1933, a time when his military career was gaining visibility. The memory of Anne helps place the private side of a public figure, marked by family duty and by a century soon to be shaken by war. Elvis Presley appears in a karate uniform, with the text indicating 1974, a year when his public image already blended music, film, and physical discipline. The record points to the height of pop culture and to his effort at reinvention, reinforcing how he remained an influential symbol until his death in 1977. On top of the Victoria Building in New York, men and young women from the State Industrial Commission perform physical exercises for the National Security League 22 stories above the ground. Between 1917 and 1918, this practice reflected domestic mobilization during World War I, when physical fitness and discipline were seen as part of national defense. British troops leave Hong Kong for South Korea to join United Nations forces in September 1950. The deployment marks the Korean War, which had begun months earlier, and shows the fast Western mobilization at the start of the Cold War, when the conflict came to symbolize the global struggle between rival blocs. The inspection of the Colt Vickers M1915 at a British depot in 1941 was part of the United Kingdom's mobilization during the World War II. This equipment control helped maintain the supply of the armed forces, which was essential after bombing threats and the pressure of total war. Jack Daniel, founder of the Jack Daniel brand, became a symbol of American production when he started his business in Lynchburg, Tennessee, in the 19th century. His name became a global brand and helped strengthen an important manufacturing sector in the southern United States. The miniskirt appears as a new fashion in Lithuania in 1965, a sign of subtle changes in women's clothing and in the spread of Western styles. This historical moment reflected a gradual cultural opening, while the formal uniforms and hard suitcases suggest a daily life of travel and social discipline under strong control. In 1971, in a cafe or bar in Belgium, two men sit at a table with large glasses of beer in a black and white scene with a humorous tone. The image highlights the local custom of serving different styles in their own specific glasses. Belgium was already known for its beer tradition and the variety of its regional recipes. On a crowded beach in a 20th century photograph with no confirmed location in the image, thousands of people fill the sand and the water while rows of beach umbrellas cover the shoreline. Scenes like this became more common with the growth of urban leisure, summer tourism, and wider public access to beaches in large cities. The repeated word shorn on continuous paper suggests an already mature industrial printing process when large-scale printing sped up the spread of newspapers and advertisements in the 20th century. This advance strengthened mass culture and turned information into an everyday commodity. A Pan-American World Airways flight attendant arranges meals in the airplane galley, a typical scene in commercial aviation of the 1950s. This service model symbolized the growth of mass air travel, driven by the advance of jet aircraft and the glamour of international travel, which turned flying into a global experience. On the plains of Kansas, the mark of 185 miles west of the Missouri River and the note of around 1867 placed the movement into the interior of the United States when trails and markers guided travelers and wagons. This advance opened routes for settlement and trade that were decisive for Western occupation. Rubery Owen appears linked to London in 1928, when industrial growth in steel construction required specialized teams to raise urban structures. The record reflects a moment of labor modernization marked by limited safety and by the rise of heavy engineering as a foundation of British growth. The English sign with the phrase "spitting prohibited by law" and the caption "Mailman and his motorcycle, 1915" reveals the urban strictness of an era when hygiene rules and public order were gaining importance. The motorcyclist symbolizes the modernization of postal service marked by the spread of motor vehicles. Sea Captain, 1901. The image of a sea captain recorded in the early 20th century points to commercial and military navigation that still depended on discipline on board and direct control of the helm. This kind of record helps explain maritime authority and the expansion of ocean routes. The Juneau Dock in Alaska around the 1890s reveals the growth of a frontier port linked to the gold rush and maritime trade. The wooden structures, small boats, and simple houses mark a decisive urban advance that strengthened the region's economic presence. A mountain boy gathers water from a spring in the Great Smoky Mountains in Sevier County, Tennessee, around 1950, in a simple daily routine far from urban centers. This record connects with the expansion of the national park established in 1934 and helps explain the persistence of rural communities. The sign with the slogan "For Economical Transportation" and the Chevrolet brand places the record at the height of automobile expansion in the United States, when dealerships such as Breese Motors and New Car Forwarding Corporation competed for the market. This advance changed urban transportation and strengthened the auto industry. Detroit police officers take part in a tug-of-war competition in 1991 in an urban setting surrounded by skyscrapers and barriers. The activity strengthened ties between institutions and the community at the end of a century, marked by public events that highlighted police work beyond everyday patrol duties. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.